So while we're on the topic of good deals and bad deals, let's try to summarize, what the top new investor mistakes are, because we've watched a lot of people start their real estate investing, and they tend to always make the same mistakes over and over again. So we kind of tried to capture these mistakes in a top 10 list that we'll share with you right here. The first one, we've pretty much hammered on this. They buy new homes, and they're thinking, gosh, a new home, low maintenance, that's a good thing if you're a real estate investor. No. New homes can be the kiss of death for appreciation. And because this is all about appreciation, you do not want these things. They buy in areas that'll have more construction. Same thing. You do not want to buy property that's next to a great big bunch of land that will soon enough become a subdivision. They buy in their own neighborhoods. So somebody who is an investor, as a general rule, they probably live in a nicer home and a nicer neighborhood than that of their tenants. So they think, well, gosh, I live in this great neighborhood. I own a $500,000 house and it's gone up in value. Maybe I should buy another $500,000 house right down the street and it'll go up in value. Well, it may go up in value, but it's probably a lousy use of your money. You'd be better off buying three $150,000 houses in a less expensive neighborhood. You get a lot better leverage, you get a lot better cash flow, and the truth is that a $150,000 house doubling to become a $300,000 house is going to happen a lot more readily than a $500,000 house doubling to become a $1 million house. That $500,000 house has probably already seen significant appreciation. They buy for price in a rotten appreciation area. Well, this is a mistake that I made several times when I started buying real estate before I didn't know any better about what I was looking for in a great rental property. In other words, I'd get a deal. I'd get a house out in the suburbs, and it was worth $200,000, and I got it for $150,000. And I thought, gosh, I'll just stick a tenant in there, and I'm a pretty smart guy. Well, the truth is, I should have just flipped that house immediately, taken my money, and put my money into better neighborhoods. Because although I got a deal and I got some equity on that deal, because the price doesn't go up much in value, in 5 or 8 years when I go to sell that house, all I'm doing is I'm getting my original profit back that I got on the buy, and I'm not getting much more. So don't buy based on the deal, buy based on the neighborhood. A house in a neighborhood that's appreciating 10% a year, which is very possible, that property, in 2 years, will go up 10 plus 10, 20%. That's a pretty good discount, So buying a property at a 20% discount in a neighborhood that only appreciates 3% a year is not nearly as good as paying full retail value for a property in a neighborhood that's going up 10% a year, because in a couple of years, time will buy you the discount, if you will. Okay, number 5. Pay cash in a rotten, buy for cash flow in a rotten appreciating area. Cash flow. Cash flow is not as important as appreciation. If you have a house that gets $80 or $100 a month in cash flow, great. In a year, you make maybe $1,000 or $1,200 on that property. In 10 years, that property might generate $10,000, $12,000 in cash flow. Not that exciting. A property that generates $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000 in appreciation, now that's exciting. So appreciation is a leveraged appreciation. You really want these things to be worth a lot more when you sell them. And sometimes the properties that have the best cash flow tend to be in the worst neighborhoods and the worst properties. There's a saying in this business: for good cash flow, go low. In other words, buy slum properties and be a slumlord. Well, that works, but that's a different plan. Meaning you'd have to buy a bazillion slumlord properties and you'd be a slumlord. The problem with those properties is they really don't go up much in value over time versus the high appreciation properties, which is really where you're going to grow your wealth in this business. Number 6, buy in an area with lots of other rental properties. I made the joke earlier. I asked a property manager, where's a good place to buy rental properties? And he says, oh, this neighborhood over here, because it's got lots of rental properties. There are neighborhoods that are filled with rental properties. As a general rule, those neighborhoods look like crap, and nobody wants to move into those except for the people who are renting and really don't have any other place to go. So you want to be the only rental property in a neighborhood, not just one of many. They buy for future potential, like in a crime area. We always see people that say, oh, well, there's a highway going in here, or there's a train station about to be built, or I know it's a high crime area, but it's got a good proximity to downtown. Well, that kind of investing is speculative investing, or AKA gambling. You want to gamble? My advice, go to Vegas. You can get it over a lot quicker. The truth is that when neighborhoods evolve, sometimes they evolve in a positive way, and sometimes they evolve in a negative way, and sometimes they don't do much of anything. There are some high crime areas in the town that I live in that have been high crime areas for 40 years, and 40 years from now they'll probably still be high crime areas. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not going to invest in those areas. Number 8, buy for themselves based on their own personal preferences. Well, remember that example a couple slides ago, good house, bad house. A lot of new investors get caught on that. They see that cute house, hardy plank, 2-story, big, 4-bedroom, and they think, wow, this is the kind of house I would want to live in. What a cute little house. That's what I want, to invest in for rental properties. That's not necessarily what you want to invest in for rental properties. You want to buy land. The fact that there happens to be a house on the land is pretty darn convenient, because that means somebody's going to be paying the mortgage on the land, but it's really the land you're buying and not the house, and you need to remember that. Number 9, they buy based on advice from realtors rather than investors. Okay. Let's talk about realtors for a minute. I love realtors. I even married a realtor, but realtors are trained to get people what they want and not necessarily what they need. They're trained to sell to your heart and not necessarily your head. Let me explain that a little bit further. If you want to sell a property and you ask 3 realtors to tell you what your house is worth, the first realtor will come in and they'll say, oh, I can sell your house for $110,000. The next realtor will walk in and say, I can sell your house for $115,000. The third realtor will come in and say, well, I can sell your house for $125,000. Who's going to get the listing? Who are you going to hire? You're probably going to hire number 3, right? $125,000. What's the house really worth? It's worth what it's worth. It's probably worth $110,000. The realtors are trained to tell you what you want to hear. They're trained to say, oh, I can sell it for $125,000. What do? Then you hire them. They list it for $125,000. It doesn't sell, and they drop the price down to $110,000, and it sells, and they get paid their commission. For a lot of reasons, realtors are trained to tell people what they want to hear. And realtors are trained to tell people and find people what they want. If you say, I want to be an investor, you're going to say, I want a cute house and this and that and whatever. They're going to find you exactly what you describe. But unless you're a savvy investor that knows exactly what you need, not just what you want, a realtor is probably not a very good source of finding what you need. So you need to understand what you need before you start working with a realtor, or you just need to go find these properties without a realtor, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. And then finally, number 10, new investors buy houses that are too big or too small or just different than the classic, 3-2 meat and potatoes, first-time home buyer stuff that tends to be the highest appreciation property.